You're listening to Postponed but Not Silenced, a podcast by Addi Road and the Inner West Multicultural Network, produced by Kween G. At this difficult and uneasy time, we need to face our problems and strengthen our sense of community in every way we can. Postponed but not silent. Postponed, not silent.
Well, my name's Craig Foster. We're at the Addison Road Community Centre in Marrickville in the Inner West because we're here packing boxes and getting emergency food relief out to vulnerable communities all around, not just Inner West now, but this centre is doing such a fabulous job that there's an increasing load on it. Very many councils outside of the Inner West have been in touch, need help. So I've been here volunteering. We're mobilising the sports community around the country to step up at the time when sport's not being played, to just help out and volunteer where possible in a really safe manner, of course, under all the safety protocols and just for essential services. So, this is an essential service. They need volunteers to actually pack boxes and physically get things out to drive the food to vulnerable communities. We went to Kinchela, a boys' home, Aboriginal Corporation. We went to Newtown Mission the other day, and there was a group here from Weave Youth Community Centre, about Aboriginal males who've been, I think, recently incarcerated and so on. So there's a huge need and a growing need with people losing jobs, and Centrelink Line's growing to get people fed, and it's a centre like this that is picking up that load.
And what's the response been from your sports communities, from other players? Has it been positively received? Are you struggling to get people to volunteer?
We've only been going a few days, but we had Sydney Swans reach out and say that they want to come. Today there's a couple of Swannies here, and people from Rugby League have got in touch and said we'd like to come along and help as well. But we don't want to see it only at the Addison Road Centre. We want to see this happening all around the country from sporting clubs. We want to see all of sport step up. We've got millions of Australians who were primed to play sport this season, just starting now. Who've got 5 or 6 hours per week they were going to commit to sport, and we're asking them to commit that to the community and to Australians who need our help right now. It's hashtag Play for Lives, and what that means is play for lives, not points. So we're just saying to every participant, and we're not, this is not just about, the professional level or the players that you're used to seeing. It's actually about community. It's about our community clubs around this area. The community basketball and football and AFL and netball, all of these clubs in this region who can step forward, and all of those participants say, look, we're going to help out our local community. That's really powerful, and it's the time right now when sport needs to make that contribution to the country, because we're all the same, and a pandemic like this is hopefully proven to everyone that whilst society tends to value people on a socio-economic level or a level of fame or a level of notoriety, people like me who sit on the television, what this virus has done is just level the field, and it's made everyone realise that in actual fact we're all exactly the same. We're all as susceptible, we're all as vulnerable, and we're all as powerful. It's just that some people in society have been given a raw deal, some people in society have fallen through the cracks, and we haven't been supporting them well enough. And what this virus has done is put extra strain on a system, social service system, and a safety net that was already under severe stress. Now it's completely broken apart, and it's fallen apart, and it's going to need the sporting community and others to step forward to help get Australians through this safely.
And what's something you'd like to see happen, after this pandemic is over? I know it's not going to be like it's over tomorrow and that's it, get back to your lives, but what's something that you'd like to see change or happen after this?
I think not just in Australia but around the world. On the back of this pandemic, which will come to an end, we need to reassess the way that we value everyone's lives, the way that we value everyone's contribution, to understand that everyone is equal, everyone has the same value, and that we need to start assessing what kind of metrics we use to assess that value, right? And And, everyone should have the opportunity to work. Everyone should have the opportunity for education and for health and all these things. And of course, that's all happening now in a crisis. That's all having to be given to people at immense expense to the government. And I think there'll be a lot of people who just look around on all sides of the political spectrum and saying, well, perhaps we have to readjust, some of these services that we have for people, and as a society, start to look at each other in a different way. I hope that'll happen. Hi, this is Craig Foster on Postpone Not Silenced, and I know we're all going through something really, really difficult, and many people are suffering more than people like myself or others. I'm just here to let you know that we're in the community, we're doing the best that we can, we're putting our energy and our focus into helping you guys. We're all together. That has to be the message going forward. Okay, this is going to bring Australia together. It's going to create a new discussion. It's going to take us forward as a country and hopefully take us forward as a human race.
Hi, I'm here at the Addison Road Community Centre in Marrickville in the Inner West, and I'm talking to Rosanna, the CEO of the Addison Road Community Centre. And the Gumbarrmurra Hall has been transformed into an emergency food relief centre. So I applaud everyone involved, the food pantry and also food bank and anywhere else that the food is coming from. But I want to talk to you today about social distancing and how you're managing it during this emergency relief.
Safety is absolutely paramount. It's paramount for two reasons. One is because we must keep everybody safe, staff and volunteers. Remember that people are coming here because they are passionate and because they really want to help and they understand the need in the community. So for us, it's paramount that safety comes first. The second reason that safety is paramount is because we cannot, under any circumstances, afford for this centre to close down. We are the lifeline to 10,000 people who need food, organisations and individuals. So if we close down, there is no other centre within, as far as we know, a 30-kilometre radius of where we are. So we need to remain open, and part of that is putting in place very, very strict safety processes. So for example, if you're coming to access our food pantry, we take your temperature, we spray your hands, we spray your feet. We only allow 3 people to shop at any one time. We're putting up a Perspex panel in front of the register. We're asking people, if they can, to just pay with credit cards. We're asking them to stand back. And after the 3 people shop, we have a team of people that go around and wipe the fridge doors, they wipe the shelves, they wipe everything down, because this is paramount. Then the next 3 people come in and they follow the same procedure, and so on and so forth. We've got gloves and masks for our staff. We've also got, in our emergency humanitarian food aid, preparedness and response centre, that is a 1,000 square metre warehouse. And what's been challenging, but we've got it all under control, is the usual process lines that you put in place to get the boxes done so you can deploy them ASAP. We've had to consider distancing. So we've had to, instead of the usual models that people are familiar with, the process line and the tables and, some people contributing the content, other people putting it in the boxes, and then it goes down the line. We have to do that 2 metres apart and 4 square metres around people. So we've had to put arrows and crosses. We're constantly putting signs. We have someone on a microphone that says, "Too close, spread out, you're too close, spread out." We ask people to lift their arms as far as they can, just to get people in the routine and the habit, because you're asking people to really make behaviour changes. We all have to change our behaviour. So when we see our friends or our colleagues that we've always hugged or stood next to, and the urgency or the need or the natural response is, "Hi, how you going?" Particularly in this climate of crisis, you want to give someone a hug. You want to touch them, but you have to always be aware, absolutely aware constantly, that you can't do that.
I know that coming down to the centre in mass amounts is not the best advice for people out in the community who want to, reach out and do something. What's the best way that people can support your work?
There are two very, very important ways that you can support our work. One is we need funding. So donate or write to your local member, or better still, write to the Premier's office and say that Addison Road Centre is running with zero funds. So please, they need to support an important operation like this, because we are a preparedness and response centre for food aid. We are providing the most basic human right to people in our community, the right to food. People cannot stay healthy, they cannot have good mental health if they don't have food. So that is fundamental. And number two, the other way to help us is to find out from your neighbours, from your communities, from your churches, from your sporting clubs, from your book reading clubs, find out who in the community are in need, because our job is to not let one single person put their head on the pillow at night without knowing if they're going to have any food for the next day. We are already facing extreme challenges, and the one thing that we can do is provide food.
Right on time.
Postponed but not silent. Postponed, not silent.
My name's Bruno. I live in Marrickville, 2204 represent. I work at the cafe down the road, Vespa Espresso. Well, worked there until all this, and then I also do a whole bunch of like art world fabrication, stage building, things like that. I'm an artist, I'm a writer. Some people would say I'm a music player, but I'm not quite at that point yet. But most people know me from the cafe.
Well, welcome to Postponed but Not Silenced. The music that we're hearing is a bit of a soundtrack to this episode. And can you just tell us a bit about the music that we're hearing right now, recorded in your backyard?
Yeah.
Just playing to the neighbourhood.
It's like, especially when it first all happened, like just set up the keyboard out on the balcony, hit the speakers, and play for the area. It's like that's probably the most expensive piece of equipment I've ever bought for myself, like $3,500, but it's my baby.
Well, Bruno, I'm sure a lot of people in the neighbourhood and the community are missing seeing your face. The cafe that you speak of is located on the corner of
Warburton and Dilla Road.
Yeah, opposite the train station. It's a passing place. It's a place where I've met you. It's called the Vespa. Tell us why we don't see you anymore.
We kept a really close eye on everything, trying to see if there'd be new regulations, and we've all kind of not really come from much at all. Like, so the idea of a business getting fined because of a breach of some of these regulations, and we are a tiny little cafe. We pump out a lot of coffee, but we're a tiny little cafe. So there's very little room for people to stand around and wait, even for takeaway coffees. Like, the risk of getting a fine, even though the coppers were in there standing shoulder to shoulder and kind of ignoring instructions to move outside, you know, in the early days of the shutdown, like told us that, well, maybe they're not even taking this that seriously. Boss man's got 3 young kids, Van, like, lovely as soul. He's got 3 young kids, and he was thinking about the best options for everyone moving forward, because we service a lot of this area and a lot of this neighbourhood. Like, people from right across Marrickville and in suburbs around, like, people come to us for coffee, and we will be pumping from, you know, 6 o'clock in the morning, sometimes earlier 5 in the morning, like, all the way through to pretty much when we close. Like, it's as much as, like, we do everything we could do to keep it clean and safe, there's no guarantee. Like, one person comes in there, gives it to me, for example, you know, and the risk of us transmitting it to the rest of the community was too high, I think, as well. And so I think that all of those decisions were taken to close us down.
And tell us, what's a day in the life like for you at Vespa?
I've been doing this for so many years now. You have quite a privilege in that position as a barista. You're servicing a community, but you also get to, you know, in a lot of ways, make a space that's a safe space. And when Van took over the business, because I was there with the former owner, like, I kind of made a decision. I was like, well, I haven't grown up with community around me. Like, growing up for me, like, we moved from the western suburbs to the eastern suburbs when I was, like, just going into high school. So all the friend networks that I had were completely, like, torn away from me. And then going to an all boys school in the eastern suburbs, which was very, very white and very, very white logicked, which didn't make sense for someone like me who kind of grew up in an ethnic home, in a very relatively religious home, and then came to this place full of high masculine energy. And as a trans person, without having the vocabulary until my early 20s for what it meant to be trans, like, trying to find a place to fit in this environment just didn't work. And I didn't really have any proper friends till my last couple of years of high school. And then even that kind of went sour just after high school, when it got really, really toxic. It was not an environment that I fit into or understood. I had nothing, and that cafe gave me a space to kind of start growing again. And then what's it called? Yeah, Van took over the business, and I made a decision at that point, if I was going to stay in coffee making, which I do love, it's not for the coffee, it's for the community. And I hadn't grown up with this community. I hadn't grown up with any community. So I was like, I'm going to make a space where I can feel safe, and where people like me who haven't had the privilege of feeling safe in the general populace can feel safe. So we cut out the racism, cut out the transphobia, all the homophobia. Any customers like that just did not give them the space, did not make them feel comfortable in the cafe. And my theory, and it turned out to be true, wasn't that we were actually going to lose business from that. It was actually going to bring in business, because people who are used to not feeling safe in their community or feeling safe in this country that's got 232 years of systemic, like, oppression and abuse, it created a space for everyone else in the community to go, I can meet here, I can be here, and I can exist here. And, like, some of my closest friends have come out of that place. Like, that cafe has given me a place to find community, and it's also given me a place to harbour and protect community and give people a space to feel safe.
But what's something that you envision for, you know, humanity, for community, for your surroundings after, you know, we get back to reality, back to life after COVID-19? Let's us.
A bit like that changeover at the cafe, when something scary like this happens, when something big and life-changing does happen, you've got that opportunity to go, okay, this has now completely fundamentally changed the way we exist. We don't have to go back to what we were doing before, because it wasn't working. It has not been working. There is no evidence that this is actually working globally around the world. The irony is, like, I was having a couple of drinks with some people the other night, and we made a joke about, you know, it's only a pandemic when it affects white people. But that's the thing, it's like, you're all waking up. Everyone's waking up now. Everyone that's been laid off is realizing, this system doesn't work. I can't be standing in lines for half a kilometre from Centrelink, shoulder to shoulder with people who have probably been in contact or could have been in contact, to get a social securities check that won't come in for 2 to 3 weeks, and I've got bills to pay this week. This system has never worked for most of us, and then I think people in positions of power are slowly realising this system doesn't work flat out.
Postponed but not silent. Postponed.
Hello, this is Mark Mordew from Addi Road Community Organisation down here in Marrickville. I've been asked to do a couple of poems that I've written over the last month in relation to the organisation itself and the way the whole COVID-19 thing's affecting everybody, on a personal level for me, and as well as our community and our society, and everything from life and love to social justice. You can hear kids in the background at the local children's centre that we've got here at the centre. It's probably an appropriate sound, really. This one's called Making Our Stand. I stand with you in a line for food. I stand with you and wait. I stand with you in measured space. I stand with you, my face masked, our eyes looking in at our hearts, our breath in our ears while we listen out for the call. I stand with you in lines or loose congregations like leaves fallen from a tree to the stone ground. I stand with you in the wind and the sun, in the rain, in the artificial light of the marketplace. I stand with you, a mark in time, a number, a letter of the alphabet. I stand with you, closed and exalted in my private music. I stand with you in a memory of conversation. I stand with you catching a glance. Your eyes are blue, brown, green, hazel, and I feel I know you like a deep dream. I stand with you with my shopping bag, with my fears and positive thoughts, with last night's lack of sleep, with a strange freshness brought by a new day, with a clock in my chest, with a common heart, with the giving hope of poems and songs, with bread and painkillers, with biblical psalms, with the novels of Camus and Defoe, with reams of data and information, with dancers on balconies defying the loneliness, with the old who still call hello, with the young and their games. I stand with you today.
Hi, I'm Vivi Martin. I'm the local facilitator of Connect Marrickville, along with my wonderful counterpart Lindy Alwas, and together we run a community centre for families raising young children from birth to 8 years inside Marrickville West Primary School, which is also part of the South Marrickville community. We run a lot of different play groups here. We have different people running play groups, community members, for example, running Japanese play groups, Vietnamese play groups. We're also involved in some whole of community activities such as Marrickville South Collective, which is a bunch of agencies working together with residents who live in the local area. We've been doing barbecues, but run a play group in the housing complex at Elimination Road. And we're also involved with a whole of Australia-wide early literacy project called Paint the Town Red.
During this podcast, this series, Postponed but Not Silenced, we've been talking to the community and just seeing this great response, this unity around how to keep activities flowing within social distancing. And I'd like to hear from you about how this is affecting your work.
It was really hard knowing about this virus and knowing that we needed to shut down straight away. And because we would have had families with young children, I knew even before the announcements were made that it wasn't going to work. So we quickly moved to online platforms, and so Lindy's been running an amazing Friday play group, online reading stories and talking and singing songs and being the familiar face but just over the screens and has also been putting together activity kits that could be dropped off at people's houses. And the Vietnamese group has also been doing amazing stuff online with Vietnamese storytelling and Vietnamese wash your hands songs and information, and drawing on the resources that are happening in Vietnam. For example, they've got jazzy songs about COVID as well. We're doing our best, but we're acutely aware that not everybody has screens and phones or phones with credit and all the things that are so necessary now to stay connected. And I was interested in a local resident called Sean Stevenson, who had started a Marrickville South mutual aid Facebook page. And mutual aid is something that's grown out of the UK in response to the COVID over there, and it's recognising that people want to give and people also have their needs, so it's about matching people. You know, if somebody needs IT help or something like that, that they can be connected to people that could offer that kind of support. And so one of the things we've been doing is letterboxing around so that it also has a phone number, so that if people can phone out, that there's a bit of connection there. And then I've tapped into, through the Marrickville South Collective, Addison Road Community Centre, the food pantry. So what we're doing is, bringing down boxes, food hampers to Connect Marrickville. It may also be other sites across Marrickville South to enable food to get out to the community, and that's being subsidised at the moment. I think we've got 140 packages through Inner West Council.
That is amazing. It's really fantastic. Thank you on behalf of, so many people in the community for, responding quickly with everyone that's involved. Just to finish off, can you just share with us, some positive messages?
I think that, people are coming out of the woodwork, people who really want to help. And, some people might even be doing it a little bit tough themselves, but they might have a dish that they want to, they make. So, for example, there's a mother here from Venezuela who made some hallacas. I think they're little things that are wrapped in banana leaves. And I thought, so I bought some for myself, and that's also helping her out. So those sort of mutually good things. And other parents are saying, what can I cook? I really want to give. It's sort of people are wanting to give what they can of themselves. So I'm seeing that all around. I suppose on another level, I'm really happy to see this is focused on people, the public. The economy's a big thing, but really this is about hunkering down and being together, and our hearts and the things that matter most about being a human.
Postponed but not silent. Postponed, not silent.
So I'm Roz. I'm volunteering here at the Addison Road Food Pantry. We are doing emergency food relief for people who need it and nonprofits who need it. You're listening to Postponed but Not Silent.
Hi, my name is Hannah Murray. I am a French hornist and a vocalist, and I am the frontwoman of Baltic Bar Mitzvah, which is a Balkan Gypsy klezmer fusion band. I also sing with Bakumba as a backing vocalist and play with many orchestras and operas, ballets around the country. I also present a world music and folk music show on Monday nights at Eastside Radio called the Gypsy Hot Club, and that's on from Mondays 6:30 to 8 p.m.
And do you have any positive messages for the people listening?
My advice would be to get creative and not to lose sight of what your job is as a musician, as an artist, which is to bring beauty into the world and bring light into the darkness. Art is a way forward. It's the epitome of culture. It's what keeps us connected. So I think we as musicians and artists need to remember that we still play a very pivotal role in keeping spirits up and keeping people connected in the community. So I think that's my positive message, is that while your work may have dried up, your value certainly hasn't.
You're listening to Postponed but Not Silenced, a podcast by Addi Road and the Inner West Multicultural Network, produced by Kween G.